Hi, it's Mark Graban. Welcome to Lean Blog Interviews. We're doing a bonus episode. We've been doing a lot of these recently where we are highlighting some of the events happening in the Lean community. And today we're going to be talking about the Lean Product and Process Development Exchange. So the LPPDE North American Conference 2025 is being held in Milwaukee, October 27th to October 30th. And if you'd like to register with 20% off, you can use the code LEANBLOG. So check the show notes for the links there. And we are joined today to talk about the conference by Geoff Neiley and Andrew Wagner. So Geoff is the chair of the conference. Andy is a co-chair, and they are both board members of LPPDE. So Geoff and Andy, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
We're doing well.
Yeah, thank you. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah. Longtime commenter, Andy. It's good to have you here on the podcast. We have coast to coast representation, Boston area with Geoff, Andy out in the Seattle area. So let's talk before we talk about the event, LPPD, Lean Product and Process Development. Geoff, love to hear your thoughts if you could give us an overview of that.
First, Mark, thank you very much for hosting us. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on your show. LPPDE is a nonprofit organization that strives to bring the ideas of lean and reducing waste in product development and the processes we use. We try to do that through this exchange. We want to get people together and share our learnings with the attendees, and we want to learn from attendees. LPPD has been around since 2008, and it was really founded by some early leaders like Durwood Sobek, Jim Morgan, Catherine Radica. Some of these people started LPPDE, and was fortunate to be invited on the board about 6 years ago. And I joined the board because I was a regular attendee for several years at LPPDE, and my company's lean journey started with one of these conferences. And I want to give back, and I continue to learn as I attend our conferences.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jim Morgan. He's been a guest on this podcast twice, so I would invite people to search in the podcast feed. One episode maybe 15 years ago, and then more recently, Jim was back here on the show. You know, Andy, what would you add to some of the context and the background of LPPD?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we try to translate lean from production or manufacturing into product development, there's a tendency to think about things like first pass quality, because that's a key lean tenet. First pass quality for product development is really about first pass learning. So even it's that fast to fail mindset is a piece of it, but it's really about how do you learn quickly, and then how do you capture that knowledge in a reusable form so that you don't have to go back and learn it all over again. So those are some of the key insights I got out of Jim Morgan's work. Alan Ward is another one of the sort of thought leaders in this space. And then of course, Durwood Sobek is still with us, still part of the organization. That's what excited me is understanding that there's some specific things that are different between production lean and lean in product development. The underlying principles are exactly the same, but how you implement them and how you view them is just a little bit different. And that's why the extra conversation is really important.
Yeah. And, you know, this is, you know, not my area of expertise, but it seems like there are applications in so many different industries. You know, when I started in the auto industry, I hate to say it's 30 years ago this year. And as lean, you know, was becoming popularized, you know, part of the story was not just about production quality and production lead times, but product development cycles. In the auto industry, it was roughly 5 years for the Detroit automakers and maybe half of that for Toyota and Japanese automakers. I don't know how that stacks up today. But
I don't either. You've talked a lot about your experience with NUMMI graduates in General Motors.
Yeah.
One of the first presentations, the first keynote of my first LPPDE conference, they talked about how those GM leaders were able to learn those lean techniques in Toyota with a Toyota product. And then they went to their GM factories and they found that a lot of it, I'll say didn't work, but it's
Mhm.
because the underlying design wasn't as mature in the ways it needed to be in a General Motors car. And it's that product development piece of it that is so critical.
Yeah. And so, we're looking at kind of the development time. And then when it comes to, I think one element of quality, again, thinking back to my General Motors days, was, poor handoffs between product design and production. You think about, things that are studied and taught, design for manufacturability. Is that also that kind of that quality component part of the, I see you both nodding your heads.
Yeah.
Part of the focus.
It is integral and is core to it. One thing, let me just step back to LPPDE and our conferences. We really try to bring in practitioners. We're not a bunch of consultants. I work for a company called Rapiscan Systems. We make X-ray systems for the security market. So I do product development every day. And a core tenet of our product development process is this concurrent engineering, where we're constantly, right from the beginning, asking operations, how do you want to build this product? What is your value stream mapped? So that engineers start with a picture of what the operations team wants. And we try to design to achieve that. We do it with our suppliers as well. So yes, certainly working concurrently with the manufacturing organization, trying to achieve the cost targets with suppliers, labor times, material movement, is a key tenet of that lean product in process development.
The acronym's a mouthful, but product and process development is
right. That's right.
Yeah. I think one common thread to broader lean thinking or lean manufacturing or lean healthcare even is the cultural aspects. And, the LPPDE website touches on this, cultural aspects, not just tools. That was a big part of what I learned from the former NUMMI leaders that I was able to work for. Andy, first, maybe, how would you describe some of those cultural elements, things that might be familiar to those of us from outside of product development?
Yeah, well, one of them is just organizational change, right? So there's a lot of deeply ingrained patterns and ways we do product development. And so organizational change is a key part of what we discuss and the presentations and things. So we talk about, that change journey to get your organization from point A to point B. Another thing we talk about is really creating that learning culture, the PDCA cycle, the scientific method, right? So what we're doing in product development is we're executing those learning cycles. So that's something where I think the strongest tie-in to the lean manufacturing, lean generically.
Yeah, and you talk about that iteration, and you mentioned earlier the idea of fail forward or, fail early, fail small, and then improve. There's got to be this cultural aspect, I imagine, of not punishing these failures.
Absolutely.
We try to celebrate them.
But the point is to learn. And so if you learn what doesn't work, then you have learned.
Now, Geoff, what would you add to the cultural aspects of LPPD?
So what I think just what we try to do is we take it beyond just me learning. Is if I'm going to learn, even if it's a mistake, can everyone in my organization learn it? Can we record it so that it's easily accessible so we don't have to learn that mistake again? One of the things I got from Jim Morgan at a conference maybe 6 years ago is this idea of a regular meeting of each engineering discipline. And I can't remember what he called it, but I started it after the LPPDE conference where he told me about it. Is we get the mechanical engineering team together. We call it show and tell. And every 2 weeks, we get together and say, what have you learned this week? Because I'm working on different projects than the guy next door to me. So he may not know or have a chance to learn from me. And he may not be able to have a voice to help me. So this was again, Jim Morgan did this at Ford. He would get the team together. He wanted to build towering technical competency. So I would say that's an aspect of culture that we've implemented here based, in that lean culture.
Yeah. We call it Kaizen Friday where I work.
Of sharing those lessons learned and debriefing with each other. We do a lot of that within KaiNexus, a software company of, a Friday all hands meeting of sharing lessons learned, and in some cases even, sharing mistakes for the
Those are the
for sharing and learning. It's not the only way to learn, but it's good to have a culture when learning, or a culture where learning is the focus. So speaking of learning, lots of opportunities, to learn and to network in different ways at conferences. So again, the North American Conference 2025 in Milwaukee, October 27th to 30th. You can save 20% using code LeanBlog. What in particular are you excited about for this year's conference?
So that's the theme of the conference is accelerate knowledge, accelerate innovation, right? We're trying to emphasize the faster we learn, the faster we can innovate. So this conference, we're showcasing discussions about how we're using existing knowledge, how we're creating new knowledge, and especially how we're using AI to capture and to accelerate that knowledge that we need to make decisions behind our innovations.
So learning faster means the speakers are all going to talk super fast. Hope not. Yeah. Andy, what are you looking forward to in particular this year?
Well, in addition to the base content of the conference, we've got a day of workshops before and after the conference, and that's an add-on to it. So one of the ones I'm involved with is on developing what we call a lean learning plan, which is a method where we look at the decisions required to develop a product, the sequence they need to happen, what are the knowledge gaps, and then how you go execute experiments to close the knowledge gaps. So I learned about it probably 2 years ago, and now I'm helping to facilitate a workshop with it, which is a great example of the learning and the community that we get from LPPDE. And this approach, and I know I'm being on a tool here as opposed to culture, but it's a way of solving that problem around how do we get the team working together and how do we get the team focused on the really important parts of the problem to solve. And so to me, it's a tool, but it's a tool that helps with a big cultural problem in product.
Yeah. If I could comment, Andy points out a good point I wanted to make, which is the workshops, especially that Monday workshop, is, I believe, the most valuable opportunity for people with LPPDE. From my experience and my company's experience, that workshop is what kicked off our lean journey 11 years ago, and we're still on it today. And my personal story was I didn't go to that one 11 years ago. I went the year after, but I skipped the workshop. I just went to the conference. And the morning of the conference, all anyone was talking about was the workshop. And from then on, I've never missed a workshop. The workshops on the first day are instrumental. They're really where you get some deep learning. The conferences are great. We like to say you can polish and sharpen your skills at the conference.
Yeah.
But you can get some real deep learning with your peers, learning from the practitioners and the experts at the workshops.
Well, I hope people will check that out, and the link to the website will be in the show notes. It's lppde.org, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So we've been joined by the chair and the co-chair, Geoff Neiley, Andrew Wagner. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you very much
Thanks
for having us, Mark.
Yeah, we appreciate it.